Hi everybody, it's Courtney, Firefox Studios, and before we get started with this tutorial, I wanted to show you guys the three options for this cowl, infinity scarf, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to get started by just doing a quick explanation. I will not talk too long, I promise. And what we have here is the blues and greens that I was wearing in a podcast the other night, a Happy Mail video. So I wanted to show you guys this one right here. This is the butterfly poncho turned into a cowl or scarf. And the way that I did this particular one is I did size 3 yarn and I used the color Troll from the mandalas. And I did a slip stitch along the side here. And I wanted to do this so I can show you, because to start yours, you're going to have to make a decision on which style you're really doing. So if you look right here, this right here was where I started on this side. So that was the first rows that I did, and I did a total of 40 rows, which was 20 repeats of the pattern. And then when I got here to my last one, this is the 20th repeat, the 40th row right here. I added another row so to have something like even to stitch to, like a straight line to stitch to. And then I sewed and seamed it up here. I did a slip stitch all the way down. So that made a very long tube. So it's a wide, long tube. And when you put it on, put my hair up so we wouldn't have to worry about that. When you put it on, you slip it over your head, and this is what it looks like. Let me get my hair out of my face. I'm struggling here. Okay, so you end up with a piece just like this. And I did a little edge on it. I did the little princess picot edge, and I'll show you that in the tutorial. But that's what that one ends up look like. It's a fuller look. You can pull it over your head, wear it like this if you wanted to. But that's how that one looks. So let's go ahead and take this one off. Or you can do it another way. So this one is right here is the same pattern, and it's just done with the seam from right to left. So what I did is I took the finished panel, which was 15 repeats, so this one's 30 total rows, and instead of seaming it from the butterfly basically to the first butterfly, the last to the first, I did the seam just along the edge, the natural edge, the right and the left edge. I brought those together where it has the squares, and I seamed it there. So if you take a look, you already have a straight edge at that point, and you're just seaming right there. Hello. So on this one though, what I did a little bit different is you got your 15 rows. It's everybody's going to be starting theirs. I'll give the starting counts and all. But you have your 15 rows, which, you know, is the length of the project. But this one ends up being a little bit shorter because it's less rows, obviously, and then the way that it's seamed up, that changes the look of it. So in the back here, where I was doing my seaming, I stopped and left 5 of the repeats. I left those alone. So when you put it on, it's seamed from up here to here, and then it's open right here in the very, very back. So you can see, I made sure you'd be able to see where I seamed. So I seamed, and then I left the rest right here. So the look that that gives you for that one is when you put it on, it ends up not being as full. And because I left it where the very last 5 repeats, so total last 10 rows, was not stitched, it brings it down a little bit lower so it more covers over the breast area. So if you take a look at those, you've got the different looks with them. The green one that I'm showing in the actual tutorial, it's done with larger yarns, so that changes it a bit, and it changes the look of it. So when you're starting out yours, I wanted to bring this stuff up to you and show you so you can go ahead and make a decision right out the gate whether you're going to do your 40 repeats or 40 rows for 20 repeats of the pattern and make the longer drapier, more full looking one, or whether you're just going to do this one. This is more like a traditional cowl look to me. Whether you're going to do this one, or if you don't have size 3 yarn available to you, like just don't have any in your stash, and you're wanting to use size 4, I'm going to show you what that one ends up looking like. Hold on one second. So when you put this on, get my ponytail out. So this one is a super full looking piece, but when you kind of just tug on this part right here and bring it down a little bit, it's not as full around your neck. And this one is less chains to start, and that'll be shown in the tutorial, and it is less repeats. I did a total of 14 repeats on this one because the yarn is so much bigger than the other one. So this gives you a completely different look as well. So just depending on what you're going for, like this is super warm, like I'm already getting hot. But depending on what you're going for, what you have available, this is the way that you're going to work this piece. So I wanted to show you guys that and show you them actually on a body so you can see and make your decision. And then we're going to go ahead and jump right into the tutorial. I'm going to teach you guys the stitch to do this, and then we will go into the sewing it up, the trimming it out, and all that good stuff. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with the actual tutorial. Everybody, this is Courtney. Hi everybody, this is Courtney, Fiber Fox Studios. We're getting started now with the tutorial part of this. So we're going to go ahead and start with a slip knot. So I've got my working yarn over here and I have my tail right here. So I like to do my slip knot by taking the yarn, wrapping it around my fingers just like so. Of course I'm going to fumble because I'm on camera. And I like to wrap it like that, and then I like to take the working yarn over here in between my thumb and my index finger, and I just twist it just like so over in between my two fingers, and then I pinch down and pull backwards. And that is how I make my slip knot. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and you can refer down to the description, and I will flash it on the screen as well. But you're going to start for the size 3. If you're using size 3 yarn, you're going to start with 92 chains. If you are doing the size 4 yarn, you're going to start with a total of 78 chains. The pattern is a repeat on it, or the multiples on the pattern are 14 plus 8. So if you check the counts and all, if you want to adjust it, you're going to do 14 repeats or multiples and then add 8 at the end. So to get started on mine, I'm going to just do a very short row of these of the stitch so that I can show you how to do it, and then we'll move over to my finished pieces. I've got a panel that's not quite finished that I'm going to use for the rest of it. So to start your chains, you're going to grab your yarn and you're going to pull through that loop that's on your hook, and that's your first chain. So you're going to go ahead and pause here, and you're going to continue on down until you have the number of chains you need to start your piece. You're going to work with a size 5mm hook, which is a US H size hook, and you're going to use that to do the size 3 yarn. If you are using a size 4 yarn for this project, you're going to use a 6.5mm hook. So please go ahead and pause the video here and then meet back up with me when you've got all your chains ready, and we'll get started. Okay, so we're back and you've got your number of starting chains, and we're going to count back these 6 stitches right here. These ones right here are on our starting chain. We're going to count back to the 6th one, and we're going to be doing a double crochet. So let's start right here. You're not going to count the loop that's on your hook. You're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here's the 6th one right here for me. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap my yarn, and I'm going to do a double crochet right here into the 6th one. So to do the double crochet, you wrap your yarn, you're going to insert your hook into the stitch, and I like to go under the V just like that, and you're going to grab your yarn again, pulling through a loop. Now you're going to grab your yarn again and pull through 2, and you're going to grab your yarn again and pull through 2, and that is your first double crochet. Now we're going to begin our repeat for this row, and you're going to chain 4, and that's the beginning of the repeat, and this is only a 2-row repeat on this pattern, so it's perfect for beginners. So chain 4 right there, and now we're going to go and look down here on our starting chain, and we're going to count over to the 6th stitch. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Right here in the 6th one, we're going to wrap our yarn and we're going to do a double crochet right there into that stitch, just like so. And now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And we're going to go back down here into that same exact stitch, and we're going to do another double crochet right there into that same one. So you're working right there in that same one, doing another double crochet. And now we're going to repeat that again. We're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And we're going to go right back down here into that same exact stitch and do another double crochet right there into that stitch. So it's looking like that now. So we're going to do that one more time. So you're doing that a total of 3 times into the same one, so that you end up with 4 double crochets separated by chain 2s into the same exact stitch. And that's what that ends up looking like. So working all right there into that same stitch. And now here's where you want to be a little bit careful, and you might want to just pull your work over a little bit so that you can see what the very next stitch is, because this is going to be important to your counts. We're going to chain 4 up here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're going to go down here on our chain, and we're going to skip over 6 stitches. So that's why I say pull this over some, so that you can see that this is your very next stitch. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And here in the 6th one, we're skipping over 5 and going into that 6th one. We're going to do a double crochet right there into that 6th stitch. And now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip 1 stitch down here on our chain and go into the next one with a double crochet. So we're just skipping over 1. And that ends your repeat for this row. So your repeat starts with this chain 4 over here, and then we do our 4 double crochets separated by 3 chain 2 spaces. We do another chain 4, and we're skipping 6 on the bottom row down here on our starting chain. And then we do a double crochet, chain 1, skipping 1 stitch, and a double crochet, and that ends the repeat. I'm going to do this with you one more time. So we're going to start out with our chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're going to go over here and we're going to count over to the 6th chain. We're going to skip 5 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's the 6th one. I'm going to go into that one and I'm going to do a double crochet right there into that one. And then I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And I'm going to go back down on that same exact stitch down here into that same one. I'm going to go back in and I'm going to do another double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to wrap again. I'm going to do another double crochet right here into that same exact stitch. I'm going to chain 2 again. This is the last time I'm chaining 2. And I'm going to go back down to that same exact stitch and I'm going to do another double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to go down here on my chain and I'm going to scoot this over to make sure I don't make a mistake and go into that same stitch right here, or count that. We want to skip over this right here, this little edge you'll see on yours. If you scoot over your stitches, you can tell this is our next stitch. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in the 6th one, we're going to do a double crochet. And then we are going to chain 1. And we're going to skip 1 stitch and we're going to go in to the very next with a double crochet. And that's the end of that repeat. So you're going to continue on the same exact manner until you've worked into all of your you've worked all the way down your row, working into all of your stitches just in the same exact manner. And then we're going to meet back up to continue on to the next row. So you're going to go ahead and pause the video here and meet back up with me when you've finished out your entire row 1. And for me, since I am at my end, we're going to go ahead. So hopefully you guys are meeting back up with me. We're going to begin this next row by chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All of our starts of our rows begin the same way with a chain 4. We're going to go ahead and turn our work here. And now this chain 4 is acting as a double crochet in a chain 1 space. So we're going to go ahead and wrap our yarn, and we're going to skip this chain 1 right here and go right here into this double crochet. So we're right here at the beginning of our row. And so this is counting as the double crochet chain 1. We're going to do our double crochet right there on the top of that double crochet. And we're going to do that double crochet, and then we are going to chain 2. 1 and 2. The chain 2 is the beginning of our repeat. So we're going to chain 2, and then down here on this chain 4 from the previous row, we're going to skip 1, 2, and go into that third chain, and we're going to do a single crochet. So we're going to go right in there and do our single crochet. And now we're going to start doing double crochets and making the butterfly. So this is the final row for this. This is your 2-row repeat. So this is very quick and easy to do. So I'm going to wrap my yarn, and I'm going to do a double crochet right here into this very first double crochet. So if you take a look at your work, we're going to work into this one right here. And that's going to be the first double crochet that you put in to make this little fanned area. So we're going to go right there into that double crochet and do a double crochet. Just like that. And now we're going to work 3 double crochets right here into this chain 2 space. So we're going to put 3 of them right here into that space, working right around that chain 2. So there's my first one. Here is my second one. And here is my third. Just like that. And now we're going to do a double crochet. If you take a look at your work and where you're at, we're going to do a double crochet right here into the top of this double crochet. And then we are going to do a double crochet right here into this very next chain 2 space. And if you stop and take a look and you count, this was our first one, you're going to have a total of 6 double crochets right here along the side. And now we're at the peak of our butterfly. So we're going to chain 2, just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and do another double crochet right here into the same space. So we've got one right here on this side, and we're going to go ahead and put one right here into that same exact space. Do another double crochet right there, and then we're going to work our way down in the same manner down this side of the butterfly. So right here into that double crochet, and this is where we're at. If you take a look at your work, we're going to go right here on the top of that and do a double crochet. So we're inserting right there into the top of that stitch and do a double crochet. Now we're here into this chain 2 space. We're going to go ahead and do 3 double crochets right there, working around that chain 2. So we're going right around it. We're not going into any stitch in particular. So there's my first one. Now we're going to do our second one. And now we're going to do our third. And now we're right here. If you take a look at your work, kind of spread that out a little bit for y'all. We're going to work our last double crochet right here into the top of this double crochet. So you're going to go right in there and you're going to work a double crochet right into the top of that. So if you lay your work down and you take a look at it, you're forming right now, it's an upside down butterfly or a little triangle. We've got 6 double crochets, chain 2, 6 double crochets. So now what we're going to do on this side is we are going to skip this very first stitch right here. We're going to skip that one, and we're going to do our single crochet right into there, the second stitch on the previous row. It's a chain. So now we have the 2 chains that we skipped over here on this side. We have those 2 chains down here on this row. We have those left. So now all we have to do is chain 2, 1 and 2, and then we're going to come over here. We're at our double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and we're going to do a double crochet into the top of it, this very first double crochet I should say. Then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip this chain down here, and we're going to go right here into this double crochet, and we're going to do a double crochet right into the top of that, and that is the end of your repeat for this row. So if you stop and take a look at your work, you have your little squares that you begun the row with right here. This is going to be your right edge in my case. And then you have these right here in the center, and those separate the butterfly area. So now I'm going to go ahead and do this with you one more time. We're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to skip 2 chains down here on this previous row. It's a chain 4. We're skipping 2, so we're skipping 1, 2, and we're going right here into the third and doing a single crochet right there. So that leaves that 1 space, and on the other side we'll just be skipping over that. So we're going to go ahead and start doing our double crochets. So we're right here into this little fan section. We're going to do our first double crochet right there into the very first one. We're going to do a double crochet right there into the top of the double crochet from that previous row. So we're going right there into the top of it, and we're doing a double crochet. Now we're going to do 3 double crochets right here into this chain 2 space. So you can go ahead and do 3 double crochets in there. There's 1. Here's 2. And here is 3. Just like that. So now we're going to go ahead and do a double crochet right here into the top of this next double crochet from the previous row. We'll go right there into the top of that. And then we're going to do a double crochet. We're now right here in the center of that fan. We're going to do a double crochet right here into this chain 2 space, working right around it. And now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to go here into that same exact space, and we're going to do another double crochet. Now we're going to do a double crochet right here into this double crochet from the previous row. We're going to do one right there into the top of it. So we're going to go in there, and if you take a look on this side for beginners, I like to go around so that we have the little V right there. That's the V when you're looking at it from the top of the stitch. We're going to go right around there, and we're going to go ahead and do our double crochet. And now we're over here, and there's that chain 2 space. As if you take a look at your work, we're kind of finishing out this little fan area. We're going to do 3 double crochets right there into that chain 2 space. So you're going to work directly into that chain 2. And we're going to do 3 double crochets right there into it. I'm on the second one. I'm going to do 1 more. There's number 3. Now we're going to go ahead and do our last double crochet right here into this top of that double crochet from the previous row. So now we've completed our little butterfly. Now we're going to skip this chain right here. We're skipping that one, and we're going here into the second one. That's going to leave 2 chains over here that we're going to be able to skip over. So we're going to do a single crochet right there into that chain, and that anchors that down. So it looks exactly like it did over here. We basically worked our way up and then back down, and we're mirroring what we did on the other side. So now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And now we're over here at our double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So we're going to go ahead and end out with this section anyway, this repeat with a double crochet. And then we're going to chain 1. And you're going to continue on down until you get to the end. And when you're at the end, you're going to be starting. This is a starting chain right here. So you're going to be counting up. You're going to skip this stitch right here. And we're going to count 1, 2, 3. And we're going to go into that last one with a double crochet. And that's going to count as our double crochet, chain 1 space. And when you do that, you can see how that works out. So you're going to go ahead and pause here, work all the way down your row, and then we will meet back up when you're ready to continue on. I'm going to show you how the next setup row goes, and then from there, you'll be able to rewind the video and watch again and continue on. It's a very, very easy pattern, and you're going to catch on to it very quickly. So go ahead and pause here, work out the rest of your row in the same exact manner, and we will meet back up, and I will show you how to continue on. So for me, like I said before, we start each row with a chain 4. So we're going to go ahead and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're going to turn our work. And that chain 4 is counting as the first 3 chains is counting as a double crochet. The 4th one is our chain 1 space. So we're going to go ahead and move immediately over here to this double crochet. So we're going to skip this chain and go right here into this double crochet right into the top of it. Separate that out. And we're going to go in and do a double crochet. So you begin these rows and end these rows essentially in the same exact way each and every row. So now we're going to be chaining 4. So this is starting on our next repeat. So this right here is 1 repeat of the pattern. It's 2 rows total. So this is going to be my second repeat. So we start that by doing the repeat on this row. We're going to start by doing a chain 4. 3 and 4. And now we're just going to move immediately over here into the center of the butterfly, or triangle in this case, and we're going to do a double crochet. Then we're going to chain 2. Then we go back in and we do another double crochet, and we're going to repeat this 2 more times in here. Chain 2 again, going back into that same chain 2 space. We're going to do another double crochet, and we're going to chain 2 again, and we're going to go back into that same exact space, that same chain 2, and we're going to do another double crochet. So we end up with 4 double crochets separated by 3 chain 2 spaces. And now we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to move over here. We're going to skip over all of that. And we're moving over here to our little squares that we've been creating. And we're going to go right here into this first double crochet. And we're going to do a double crochet right there into the top of that. Just like so. Now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to go and skip over this chain and go right here into this double crochet, and right into the top of it we're going to do a double crochet. And that is the end of the repeat for this row. And I'm going to do that together with you one more time, but that is exactly how it ends right over here. So now I'm going to continue on doing this one more time with you, and we're going to chain 4 to start that repeat. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're going to move over here, and we're going to skip over all of this, skipping over all that, and going right here into the top of that butterfly, into that chain 2 space. We're going to do a double crochet. Then we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to go back into that same chain 2 space. So we're going right in there, and we're doing another double crochet, and we're going to repeat this chain 2, and another double crochet, and I've got a little yarn tangle. Hold on one moment. And we're going to repeat it, and we've got a chain 2 right there. And we're going to go in here and we're going to do another double crochet. And now we have to do this one more time. So we're going to do our chain 2, 1 and 2. And we're going to go back down into that same chain 2 space and do another double crochet. So we've got our 4 double crochets separated by 3 chain 2 spaces. And now we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're going to move over here. We're going to skip over all of these double crochets. We're going to skip over that chain 2, and we're going to come right here into this double crochet, and we're going to do a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And that ends out that repeat. So you are going to pause here and you're going to continue on down the same exact manner until you have met up at the end of your row. When you get there, you are going to do a count up from the bottom of this chain, because this is a chain 4 right here on the end of the row. So you're going to count 1, 2, and 3 and go into that 3rd chain and do your double crochet right there. And that is how you end out that row. Every row ends the same, every row begins the same. So you're going to go ahead and finish out your row, and then you're going to rewind the video, and I'll mark it on screen, the rewind point, if you need help going back through to do this section right here, the row 2. So this is your new row 1, and this is how you'll be doing it in each and every repeat from here after. And this row 2 does not change. So your second part of your repeat does not change all the way through the project. So you're going to continue on, and based on what you decided from the beginning of the video, if you decided to do the fuller, the blue-green style, which is more kind of an infinity scarf, but we're calling this a cowl, you're going to continue on for a total of 40 rows for that one, or it's a total of 20 repeats, because this right here is 2 rows. And this is a repeat right here. This is a repeat of the pattern. If you are doing the purple pink one that is a little more of a traditional cowl style and not as full, you're going to continue on until you've done 15 repeats, which is a total of 30 rows. And if you're doing this in size 4 yarn, you're going to continue on until you have done a total of 14 repeats of the pattern, which is a total of 28 rows. And then we're going to meet back up, and I'm going to show you how you go about the 2 options of seaming it up together. We'll discuss that real briefly. This is very simple, and then we'll go ahead and put an edge on it. I've done it both ways. I have an edge on one. I don't have an edge on the other. I'm going to use one of them to show you guys how to do the edge, but you do not have to put a final edge or border around the ends of the long tube. So we'll come back and we will work on how you go ahead and finish up this project. Okay, so we are back here, and I have got my green one. I went ahead and separated it back. If you are doing the join where you are joining from right side to left side, you'll see right here, you can identify that. This is the way you've been working. You've been working back and forth this way, and you can just simply bring over your right side and your left side together, and you already have a nice flat edge to join. So this is the way that ends up looking. So you're going to go ahead and just take your yarn needle, and you're going to stitch from one side to the other all the way up, and you can leave part of the bottom open, what's going to be the bottom end of your cowl. You can leave that open, or you can seam it all the way up. It really depends on which style you decided to make. But I will show you real briefly how you go about seaming that up. I'm going to grab some different color yarn so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And this is for those of you who are seaming up for the style that is where the squares. If you are not doing this, you're going to go ahead and wait just briefly or fast forward to where I show you how to do the very last row and seam up if you're going to be doing it from butterfly to butterfly. So at the very bottom where you began, this is the bottom, you already have a flat edge here, but I'm going to have to show you how to make the last row a flat edge across, which is really simple. It's very, very simple to do, but I'll show you guys that. That way you have something flat so that when you're seaming these together, you're working in a way that you have something to work with to give you a nice easy join. So you can fast forward through this video if you're not going to do it this other way where we're going right to left, but if you are, this part is for you. Okay, so now we're going to get started with seaming it up, and this is for if you are going to do the version that was the pink and purple shown on the beginning of the video, where you are going to join from right to left. So on the right side and the left side of your piece, you're going to see that you have this nice straight edge and these little squares right here. So we're going to go ahead, and I've turned mine where you can see now the butterfly shape that I'm talking about. So this is the reason I call it the butterfly shawl and the reason why it was called the butterfly poncho. So you're going to go ahead and bring over the left side to meet with the right side and line those up. So just like that. And then what you're going to do, I'm going to do this in a different color yarn, but you're going to go ahead and do a slip knot and join on some yarn onto your hook. And you're going to bring this on, and I do like to leave a decent tail so that I can bind that off and sew in the ends. But we're going to go ahead and I'm going to insert my hook here into the very top corner. So you're just going to find that top corner, which for me is right here. And you're going to bring over the left side, and for most of you, you're going to find that this is a chain over here. This was an end or beginning of a row, I mean. So you're going to count up 1, 2, and 3, and you're going to go in to the back side of that and get your yarn on your hook now. So you've got both of those through like this. And I've got my slip knot right here, so I'm going to go ahead and join that, and I'm doing this bright colored yarn so you can see what I'm doing. And you're going to go ahead and feed that on through, and then I like to grab the yarn with the tail and do a chain to go ahead and secure that in place. So now you're going to turn your piece so that you can work all the way down, and you want to keep it lined up. And if you do that, you'll see that all of these little squares are going to end up lining up together all the way down. So you want to make sure that you're lining it up and everything is lined up, all your edges are meeting up, and you'll know that they are when you see that you have a square and then another square, and you can't see that stitch behind there. If you flip it over, it's mirroring it. So we're going to go ahead, and you're going to, in my case, I prefer the slip stitch for this. So I'm going to go ahead and insert into this back loop right here. So I'm going into a back loop on this front panel right here, and then I'm going to go over here to this back panel, and I'm going to find the corresponding back loop, and I'm going to go into that. And then I'm going to grab my yarn, I'm going to drop my tail down here because I don't need to work that in. But you can if you want to. You can definitely do it any way that you want. And I'm going to grab my yarn, and I'm just going to pull through both of those loops, and then I'm going to pull through the loop that's on my hook. And that's my slip stitch. So obviously you'd be doing this with the same size yarn that you've done your project and same color, so it's not going to be as noticeable. And then I'm going to keep working down, grabbing a loop from each side. So you want to make sure that you're actually joining it. And then I'm going to grab my yarn, pull through those 2 loops, and then pull through the loop on my hook. So I just keep working down, looking for the very next back loop, pulling that up, and then going over here to the corresponding loop on that panel. And if you take a look at that, hopefully you guys can see, I'm just grabbing my yarn and I'm pulling through those 2 and then pulling through the one that's on the hook, and we're starting to form our seam all the way down. So you're going to continue on in the same exact way, making sure you're getting one from each side of your panel that you created. You're going to grab one and you're going to pull through and pull through. and you just go all the way down until you are either meeting your stopping point. If you are doing the purple pink one and wanting to have it flare like mine did at the bottom and go a little lower on your chest area, on the breast area, you're going to stop at a certain point, which in my case, that was, I left 5 repeats, so 10 rows at the bottom. And you'll just continue on the same way, and then as you go down, you'll see that you've joined your panel together. So it'll look just like that, only in the same color yarn. So you'll just continue on in the same way all the way down the rest of your panel, or until the stopping point. If you are going to stop at a certain point, you could go ahead and mark that with a stitch marker if you like, or you can just eyeball it, because there's really not a right or wrong way when it comes to that. It's really what your personal preference is. You can stop and try it on and see if you like it, and then if you don't, you can continue on a little further. So you're just going to go on down. I just lost that stitch. You're going to go on down in the same way, and then you will finish out. You'll meet back up with me when you're done, and we'll put an edge on it. Now, for those of you who decided that you were going to want to join butterfly, last butterfly to first butterfly, we're going to do a final edge on this piece. So hopefully you still have your working yarn attached, and you're going to, if you don't, you'll just join on a new piece, but you're going to chain up 4, just like you were doing on all your previous rows. You're going to chain 4, and then you're going to turn your work, and we are going to do a double crochet right here into this double crochet, just like we've been doing. So we're skipping this chain 1, going into that double crochet, just like so. And now we're going to chain 6 to go over here to make our straight line that we're going to join butterfly to butterfly with. So you're going to chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you're going to come over here to the center of the butterfly into that chain 2 space, and I'm going to do 3 single crochets right there into that chain 2 space. So you're just going to do 3 single crochets right there into the chain 2. And then you're going to chain 6 again, 4, 5, and 6. And you're going to be jumping over. Now you're at the little squares that we've been making. So you're going to do a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, just like you were doing on the rest of your panel. Chain 1, pull out some more yarn, and we're going to go here. We're going to skip over that chain 1 space, just like we were doing, and do a double crochet right there in the top of the double crochet from the previous row. And that is how you do this all the way down. So when you are finished, you're going to end up with a nice straight row across here all the way down the end of the project, and that'll allow you to have a really nice clean edge to work against. So I'm going to chain 6 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we're going to jump over here. We're now at the butterfly again, and we're going to go in that chain 2 space and do 3 single crochets. And then we're going to chain 6 again, just like so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we're going to now be over here. We're going to skip over all of that, and we're coming over here to the little square that we've been creating, and we're going to do a double crochet, chain 1, just like we were doing on the rest of that panel that we made. So by this point, you're super familiar with this part of it. And then we're going to begin that repeat again and do a chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we're jumping over here to the butterfly again. We're going to do 3 single crochets in the top of that. So we're going to go all the way down our panel just in the same exact manner until you meet up at the end, and then you'll be able to begin joining. And I will show you how to do that as well. So you can go ahead and pause here and work on down the rest of your panel until you've made this nice straight line here at the top to work into. So that gives you something to join. We're actually going to be doing our join right along here instead of trying to work with these butterflies. So you're going to continue on down and meet up with me, and we'll do the join on the butterfly to butterfly join like I did in the blue-green one, and also I did the same thing on this green one right here that I'm showing in this tutorial. So go ahead and pause here and meet back up with me when you are at the end of your row. So now you're back up with me, and this is for you guys who are chaining or doing the join from butterfly to butterfly. So we're going to take our panel, and here's the row that we just completed where we added this last row on here. So we have something nice and flat to join up to. So now you're going to take your bottom. This is where you started down here. This was the beginning chain. And we're going to match this up square to square down here. And the butterflies are going to lay right on top of each other. And the squares are going to line up all the way down. And you want to make sure you keep it nice and lined. You can grab into those squares. That's what I like to do to kind of hold it steady. So I've got my fingers in here at the very end. This is the end of the panel. So this is where my head is going to be going through right here. And you're going to go ahead and grab some yarn, and I'm going to do it in a completely contrasting color so you can see what we're doing. But you're going to be doing just like we were for the those of you who joined from left to right. On that part, we're going to do the same way. So here I have a chain 4 right here starting. So I'm going to count up to the third one. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm just going to go right there into that corner. And 1, 2, and 3, going to go right there into that corner. So I've gone into the corner of the panel, and I've got my yarn that's contrasting so y'all can see what I'm doing. Go ahead and slip that on my hook, and I'm just going to bring it on through, and then I'm going to take this working yarn and the tail, and I'm going to go ahead and do a chain just to lock that in place. Then I will let my tail go ahead and fall because I'll work that in later. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to work in the back loop of each stitch. So that's all you have to worry about is identifying a back loop. And if you can't find the back loop, it will not ruin this project for you to work into the entire little section as long as you're getting some from each side. And it's luckily for me worked out that these are contrasting colors. So you can see that I've got one in each side. And now you're just going to grab your yarn. Oops. Try to grab it. Grab it and pull through. And then pull through that loop that's on your hook. And when you do that, you've started joining this panel. So you're just going to work one into each and every one. I'm doing a slip stitch here. You're just going to go and grab one from each side. Grab and pull through. Don't get it tight. You want to keep it nice and loose. Keep your tension easy because you don't want to draw anything in. And as you go down, grabbing one from each side and pulling through, you are creating your join. And so you're seaming your panel up together right there. So we're going to continue on just a few more so I can show y'all a little bit better what this ends up looking like. And that's why I chose the slip stitch, but you can use a yarn needle if you want and just sew this up here from end to end. But it works out really nicely because we have added that extra row on that last butterfly. And if you're keeping it lined up, you're going to end up with a perfect join all the way down. And on the blue-green one and on this green one that I showed at the beginning of the video, I did seam it up all the way down the side. I did not worry about stopping at a certain point because these are flouncier, they're bigger, they've got more repeats to them, so it's a fuller look to it. So you can just go all the way down on these. So you'll continue on in the same exact manner all the way down your panel until you've seamed up both sides together, and then you'll meet back up with me and we'll go ahead and put an edge on. So we will be right back in just a moment, and I will show you how to do that princess picot edge. But here's what your seam is looking like. Obviously, it'll be hidden much better when you do it with the same color yarn. So thank you guys, and we'll come back and do the edge really quick. All right, so we're going to take a quick little look at the edge. So the edge is done. In my case, I did it at the where it forms the ring, the loop that you're going to be putting your head in. I did this Princess Picot edge all along the side. So I did this by doing a chain 4 and connecting it, and then I went back and worked over that chain 4 to do this pretty little Picot edge. And I call it the Princess Picot. To me, it looks like a crown. But I did it on both openings of the piece, so it's here as well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to add this edge, but you absolutely do not have to add an edge to it. It's completely up to you. If you like the way it looks, especially on the larger yarn, it doesn't have to have an edge because it's so like voluminous, or I don't know what word to use. There's a lot of fabric there, so a lot of fiber. So I'm going to do my edge on this one right here. I actually had saved that for this tutorial. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I will show you how to go about doing this. It's very quick and easy. It's very simple. So you're going to go ahead and grab whatever yarn you want. And I do recommend, if you're doing an edge, I like to switch to a smaller hook size. So for me, with the size 4 yarn, or a size 3 yarn, I did the original piece with the 5mm hook. And for this one, I'm going to be using the F, which is the 3.75mm hook, to add the edge on, because I like the edges to be a little bit more dainty. That's just my personal preference. You can use the same hook if you want. So if you were doing the size 4 yarn with the 6.5mm hook, you could switch down to a 4mm hook very easily and have a really pretty edge on yours. Or you could stay with the same. So it's completely up to you. But we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to be joining back here where I did the seam, and I have this piece inside out right now. So this is going to be the inside because I did this single crochet to join up this one in particular. So I'm going to be joining back there. You're just going to go ahead and insert your hook, get a little slip knot going so that you can start working. So the way that I did this is I went ahead, I'm going to pull up my loop, and I'm going to just grab both the working yarn and that tail and bring it through to do a chain to lock that in place. Then I let my tail go ahead and fall. So now I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I'm going to come over here to the top of this double crochet, and I'm going to go ahead and do a single crochet. Go ahead and do a chain 4 again, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you're going to be moving over here, and I just like to go right here into this single crochet and do another single crochet right into the top of that. Just like so. And then I'm going to chain 4 again, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And for most of you, you're going to have a flat solid edge, depending on the different styles. But all you're doing is just skipping a few stitches and going in no more than 2 or 3. And you can kind of be a little free with this one. You don't have to be very exact because we're just putting on these chain 4 loops with a single crochet, anchoring them down all the way around the edge. And then we're going to go back and work in those. So you're going to continue on around your entire project, and you can do this on the top and the bottom of it where the opening is. And you can just go through and do your chain 4 loops with a single crochet, and then meet back up with me when you've gotten around here to this end. And then I'll show you how to join up and begin the next part of this border. All right, so you have met back around. You've done your little chain 4 loops with your single crochets to anchor those down all the way around. You've got a chain 4 on your hook, and you're going to come right here, and I like to just go ahead and join into that first chain that I made when I started the row. So if you can see right there, let me do that again. Just kind of stretch it apart. So I'm not going in right here. I'm going right there in that very, very first chain. So I'm going right into there and pulling up a loop and just doing a slip stitch to join that. So now we're going to get started going around to do our border. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and do 2 single crochets right there around that chain 4. So we're going to go right around it and do a single crochet and then another single crochet. And now I'm going to chain up only 2 in this case, but you can do anywhere from 2 to 4 chains up. And then I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook, and I'm going to go right here into these first 2 little bumps, just under the first stitch there, that first, the single crochet. And I'm going to pull up a loop, and I'm going to go ahead and pull on through the other loops that are on my hook. And as you can see here, I'm grabbing those chains and I'm kind of pulling them down because I've gotten this just a wee bit tight. So I need to kind of help myself pull it on through. But you're just going to pull through, and then you're going to go ahead and do a single crochet to lock that down, and another single crochet to finish that out. So this is what you end up having, just like that. And then I'm going to go right here into this single crochet that we were using to anchor down those chain 4s, and I'm going to do a single crochet into that. And now we start, and we're going to do the same exact thing here in the next chain 4 loop. So I'm going to do 2 single crochets, just like so. And then I'm going to chain up 2, 1 and 2. And then I'm going to wrap my yarn, and I'm going to come down here into these 2 little loops that are right there on that single crochet. It's these 2 front bumps. I'm going into those. I'm grabbing my yarn. I'm going to pull it through. I'm going to kind of twist my hook backwards so I can get on through all of that. And I'm going to pull, being finicky today, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it on through the rest of those loops. Try not to split your yarn. And we're going to go ahead and do a single crochet and a single crochet to finish that out. And you're going to end up like that. And then I'm going to do a single crochet right here into this single crochet that was my anchor stitch. And then I'm just going to repeat that again. And I'm going to show you an easier way if you're fumbling with that like I am today. You can do this princess picot just by chaining up 2. And then without wrapping any yarn, you can go back down into those 2 front bumps on that single crochet. Grab your yarn, pull through, and grab your yarn and pull through. I always have to grab the picot and kind of move it to help me get through it. That's just me. And then you do 2 single crochets just to go ahead and lock that down. And if you stop and look, it's just a little bit smaller of a bump that you're getting over here. If you kind of pull on it a little bit to extend it, it's just slightly smaller. It's not that big of a difference. So you can do it either way, whatever's easiest for you. And then we're right here again at that single crochet that anchored down the chain 4. I'm going to do a single crochet, and you're just going to continue on around in the same exact manner all the way around the opening, and you can do the same thing on the bottom opening. Then you're going to sew up your ends and you are done. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give me a like. Please give me the thumbs up is what I mean by the like. Please comment below, and please share this video if you can. It really helps me out. If you can share it on a social media, on a crochet site, something like that, that would be awesome. Thank you guys as always. Please stay tuned. This month we have a few more little giveaways and some other fun things going on. Thank you guys for watching as always. Bye.